Well, listen, everybody. I think the first webinar we had, we didn't have time to get to too many questions, but this time we will. So hang with us. If you have any questions that come up along the way, drop them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get to them at the end. And then, honestly, Rohan, if something seems timely, interrupt me and let's go through it. I want this to be interactive if possible, and there's going to be a lot of cool concepts we're going to go through. So feel free to jump in if you want to.
Sounds good.
All right, let's kick it off. All right. Welcome, everybody. How to get paid to raise capital compliantly. So, without hiring a $25,000 attorney like myself or assembling six different vendors, probably more than that. How do you do this? This industry, and when I say this industry, I mean raising capital is highly regulated and for good reason. We need to regulate this. We need to be careful about raising capital from private investors. We want to make sure that we protect those folks. And that's why we have these regulations. And just like I need a license to practice law and doctors have a license or need a license to practice medicine, you actually need a license to raise capital. That's the general rule, unless you find some sort of an exemption, which is usually where the world that we live in, which is the world of exemptions. So we're going to teach you today how to get paid to raise capital compliantly. And just remember that, raising capital is the most lucrative skill that you can acquire on this planet. Once you get this down, you're going to be set for life. So whether that's through a fund of funds, whether that's through Tribevest, whether that's through any other vehicle or company, you guys got to get this. If you're interested in this model, in this industry, raising capital is the most lucrative skill that you're going to be able to learn. Quick disclaimer, I'm an attorney, but I'm not your attorney, or most of you I'm not. Some of you I might be, but this is for informational and educational purposes only. Tribevest also is not a law firm. So we're not a law firm, we're not an investment bank, we're not a broker dealer, we're not a CPA firm. So go get your own advice. Go get your own counsel for legal, tax, investment advice. Always seek your own counsel, folks. So, real quick about me, for those of you that don't know me, Chief Legal Officer for Tribevest. I'm a securities attorney by trade. I'm an active fund manager. I raise capital myself. That's why people like working with me, because I come from the business side as well. I'm not just your typical attorney. I don't look like your typical attorney. I don't talk like your typical attorney. And that's because I'm in the business, right? I'm in the business with you, and we make business decisions together. But I have structured over 750 funds and syndications, totaling $9 billion in transaction volume and $3 billion in capital raised across my clients, partners, and myself. And I helped architect Tribevest compliance framework that we'll be going through today. What we'll cover today, real quick, 5 things: the opportunity where private capital is moving, the old way, the co-GP model, why it's dead, the fund of funds model, and the ICA role. How you get paid. There's 3 main ways that you can get paid to raise capital on the same deal. And the most important thing we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get deep. We're going to get really deep on the Institute for Structured Capital and how to join. We only have 1 week left. We're kicking off cohort 2 next week. Actually, next Monday will be what we call week 0. So kind of the kickoff, and then the first week will actually be next Thursday. We are going to host these things on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time and noon Eastern time, and we only have a few spots left. So would love for you to join in with us today. Capital is moving back in. So this is the private markets, right? And we're not talking about the public markets where we're talking about, the stock market, mutual funds, IPOs, things like that. We're in the private markets. And the private markets are going to double the growth of the public markets by 2032. And by 2032, $13.3 trillion just in private real estate alone, $65 trillion across the board in private markets. So it's a huge, huge opportunity for folks like you to learn this skill, this very lucrative skill of raising capital, and just break off a very, very tiny part of that. It doesn't take a big piece of $65 trillion to make you and your family wealthy for generations. So the access gap, this is just showing you kind of the number of investors, right? 80 million investors with brokerage accounts. Most of you out there have one of these. I got rid of mine a long time ago because I'm all in, right? So I'm all in real estate, all in raising capital. But most of you have a brokerage account, 80 million of you out there, 20 million are accredited investors, 10 million of those accredited investors want access to the private markets, right? So you'd think that there would be a huge number because they want it that actually are in it, but they're not. There's less than a million that are actually investing in the private markets, into private deals. So that's a huge gap. And it's an access gap. It's a gap that nobody has filled yet. And that's the problem we're here to solve. So you've got operators, you've got people with deals, you've got lead sponsors on one side, you've got investors on the other side. Like I said, we just showed there are 10 million that want access to the private markets. Over there on the right, how do the operators who need this capital get access to the investors that want to be part of these deals? There's a gap. We tried to solve that gap over the last few years with what we call the co-GP model. And just know that co-GP, even the word is shouldn't even be used. You're either a GP, meaning you are an active partner, a general partner, participating in the deal and participating in the business, whether that's buying a multifamily property, whether that's doing a roofing company or a service industry, whatever it is, you're an active participant. You are a GP. Well, we came up with this concept a few years ago called the co-GP, where you weren't really the lead sponsor, but you were this person who participated, but most of the time you were participating just by raising capital. Even worse, you participated by raising capital and you got paid based on how much capital you brought in. Well, like I said at the beginning, you have to be licensed to do that, unless it's your deal, unless you're an active partner in the deal. And unfortunately, we abused it because this is what we do as entrepreneurs, as people that like to push the cards, like to see how far we can push a rule, right? You'd have one co-GP, one lead GP, and then you'd have two, and then you'd have five, and then you'd have 10. I've seen deals in the past where they had 20 co-GPs in a deal. Well, that just doesn't work. What are these 20 people doing? I know exactly what they're doing. They're raising capital illegally. Illegally. Let's keep that in mind that it is not just not compliant. Sometimes that's a softer way of putting it, but it's illegal to raise capital in that way. So, long or the short of it is, we're getting away from that, and we got away from it. Co-GP is dead. Can you still do a co-GP deal? Yes, if it's executed the correct way. Speak to your securities counsel. Make sure that's buttoned up. But I'll say that most of the time, it's not.
Can I add one thing there, Seth, actually? Just one
Absolutely.
sentence. On the co-GP, you can do a co-GP compliantly if done properly. Obviously, there's some challenges, but the whole point is that if you want to just raise capital and get paid for that, then co-GP is not the answer to that. I think that's the big point here is anyone here who wants to be a capital raiser, doesn't want to deal with the pain of operations, is anyone that's on here that's either operated a business or operated a piece of real estate. There is a lot of heavy lifting and work that goes into that. If you don't want to do that and you just want to raise capital, co-GP is not the answer for you. So sorry, Seth, but I'll leave it back to you.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And there will be a couple slides I think on that, but that's a really great point, right? Like most of these co-GPs, they wanted to get into these deals by placing capital and raising capital and not doing anything else, right? They don't necessarily want to operate the property. They don't want to help run the business. They really just want to place that capital and then get out of there. Well, that model in the co-GP frame doesn't work. It's non-compliant. It's illegal. So there is a better way, and this is not a new way. So I know we call it the old way, the new way. It's a new way because we're actually using it, but the fund to fund has been around for a long time. It's a tried and true model. It's just there were problems with it, right? It's expensive. It's time consuming. It's hard to put together. There's lots of moving parts. Think of it like if you're the lead sponsor, you've got to put all these things together. You've got to find an investor portal. You've got to find a securities attorney, a CPA, open a business bank account, start a business, get an LLC, get a management company. You have to do all these things. But as a quote unquote code GP, you just kind of rode those coattails. You didn't necessarily have to do all those things. But now that we've realized that's non-compliant, we've got to figure out a way to do it compliantly. Fund of funds is the answer. But again, you have to do all of these things that typically these folks like yourself that just want to bring capital into the deal don't want to do all this stuff. But we have found that, fund of funds, ICAs as I call them, so you are potential ICAs, independent capital aggregators, as we like to call you. You're really the fund managers of these fund of funds. You are filling this gap. You are connecting your network, your investors to the GPs, to the deal operators, to the folks that are actually going to be running the deal. You fill that access gap. And this is the key to that $65 trillion that we're talking about in the next 6 years. Real quick, co-GP versus fund of funds. Not going to run through all this, but there's just, fund of funds is just more compliant. It's more scalable. The investor experience is more unified. Your economics, you can define what those look like. You decide how much capital or how much you make in your deal. It's not murky like it is when you go in a co-GP with someone because you're in control. You're in control of your own fund of funds. Operational burden, again, you're only really raising capital. Now you are administering and managing your fund, but with Tribevest, we take a lot of that off of your hands, and you can focus on those relationships and focus on raising capital itself, and you're not involved in the day to day, as opposed to like Rohan noted, as a co-GP or as a GP, you're going to be running the business. You're going to be doing the asset management. You're going to be doing all this. You're going to have to scale with human beings, right? Anybody that's out there that's ran a business knows that when you start scaling most businesses, that means scaling with software and scaling with humans. And when you bring humans, it gets complicated, it gets expensive, and there's lots of headaches. I run a couple of gyms. Each one of those gyms has 20 employees each time. Hard to scale, right? A capital raising business, a fund of funds model that's hosted on a Tribevest platform like ours, it can just be you. It can just be you, or maybe you just have one other person. There are people that have built $50 million businesses with just themselves and one other person. That's it. So why isn't everybody doing this? Again, go to a securities attorney. You start trying to put this together yourself, like myself. If you come to me, I'm going to say $25,000 just for the legal documents. That's it. Your exemption filings, your legal documents. That's it. And then you got to go find all these other pieces. So if you look at this slide, your entity, your EIN, your investor portal, fund administration, your CPA, you got to go find a CPA and get your K1s, business banking account, KYC, CRM, all those softwares. You have to go figure that stuff out yourself. So that's why everybody's not doing this right now. Not yet. It's because it's complicated. It's hard to put these deals together because there's all these moving pieces. So this is the new way. This is truly the new way because nobody else is doing this. Some folks, when I say folks, I mean investor portals, say they're doing all these things. They're not. We're not just an investor portal. We are a platform. We are a platform, an all-inclusive platform to a fully set up, fully compliant fund of funds capital raising vehicle. The structure, the compliance, the infrastructure, a securities attorney in-house like myself, offering documents, business banking, EIN setup, compliance management, K1s taxes, fund administration, investor portal, one very small piece of this, right? We're not an investor portal. We just have one. CRM, all the marketing tools, institutional deal flow across all of our networks, everything, it's all on one platform. Nothing gets outsourced. The old way versus the new way. Already talked about that. Actually, let's go through it real quick. Again, one platform versus all those different things like the softwares, the vendors, all those different people you got to put together to form this business. The setup costs $25,000 at least compared to our way, $5,000 setup costs. So if you go out to the market and you try to put that together, $25,000 minimum, we do it for five. We also set you up in 5 business days. That's unheard of. That is absolutely unheard of. And by the time you actually launch, probably here in a month or so, that's not even going to be 5 business days. That's going to be an hour because of what we're building right now in our software. Who assembles it? Tribevest does it for you. What you still touch? Only the investor conversations, right? You're going to manage, you're going to administer in your platform, but just know that Tribevest is really doing almost all of this behind the scenes for you. And all you have to worry about and all you really should focus on is the true game of raising capital, which is relationships, those investor conversations. Proven success at scale. We've raised over 250 million across our networks, 300 plus compliant funds launched, 200 plus independent capital aggregators supported. Folks like you, 5 days average fund formation time. Absolutely insane. If you come to me with my securities attorney hat on at my law firm, I'm going to tell you 4 weeks. Tribevest does it in 5 days. And you can see some of our partners. You guys have heard of Rob Beardsley at LSCRE working with Tribevest to streamline our operations and allowed us to better serve our capital raising partners. Their platform has made it easier to launch and manage our fund of funds. Also, some of you know Richard McGurr over there at Property Llama, another one of our best clients and friends. Caliber of the room. These are the folks that are our ICAs. So Morgan K, 20 million deployed, Bronson, 50 million, Suja, 25 million. Chris, 2 billion plus in assets acquired. These are the folks that are generating income, building their business right on our platform, right? Now you got to start somewhere. You're probably not going to start at 2 billion. You're not going to start at 50 million raised. You're going to start at 500,000 or 2 million, or maybe you're already there. Maybe you're scaling up. Either way, we have people from all walks of life in the capital raising game. These folks right here are generating massive income and wealth for generations to come in their families.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to add here, and set them touch on it. These are obviously incredible capital raisers, actually, some of who are actually in this cohort. They have scaled and ended up amazing. At the same time, we have hundreds of clients who are starting their first fund and getting started in this. So don't let it intimidate you if you've never raised capital before. These are the amazing people who scaled this business, but I know, 10 people I can call off the back of the napkin that have gone in as a professional, set up their first fund on Trivest, and raised capital very successfully. So don't be too intimidated.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great point. Some of these folks right here are actually going to be in this cohort with you. So again, all walks of life, don't be intimidated that they're there, but just know they're there. So you get to learn from the best and they're learning from us, right? So everybody's going to be part of this, whether you haven't raised a dollar or you've raised $50 million. Dollars. That's the caliber of people though that are in this room. And that's how you scale your business and how you scale up in life is by the caliber of the room and the people that you keep around you. And this is just one more step that you can take. So, what is an independent capital aggregator, an ICA? Long words, ICA, pretty simple, but again, it fills that access gap between the deals and their network and the investors. Picture yourself, you're the ICA. You have a network. You know people that have money. You know people that are asking you about your investments. They want you to show them where you invest, who you invest with, deals that you invest in, who you trust, right? That's what you do. You're a relationship person. You're a networker. As an ICA, you don't run the asset. We chatted about this already, but this is huge, right? You build relationships, you raise capital. It doesn't take very many humans to be able to do that successfully. In fact, it takes just one. It takes you. Now, when you scale up and you start raising $50 million, $100 million, sure, you might need a little bit more administrative help. You might need to hire one person, but that's it. You're not going to have a team of 20, 30, 40 people to manage an asset. It's just you and probably one, maybe two other people at the most, and you're going to be able to build a huge, huge business. Who should become an ICA? Lots of people. Anyone. Like I said, this is the most lucrative skill that you can have. It's raising capital. Now, co-GP raisers, maybe you've done these in the past and you want to be more compliant. This is you. Operators who want to transition away from managing the asset and focusing on raising capital, this is you. That's actually me. I'm in that bucket. Advisors and registered reps, RIAs, people like that already have access to capital, that already manage other people's capital. You guys are really well set up to start launching as an ICA, to start collecting fees in private deals, not just the public deals that you've been putting your clients in. Passive investors with a network, maybe you're a doctor, dentist, engineer, lawyer, tech person, whoever it is, you have a network. You have wealthy individuals that you work with, that you rub shoulders with, that you have dinner with. Perfect. Aggregate some capital, put together 10 investors, aggregate $500,000. And instead of a deal where you invest 50 grand and you expect to double that money, you're going to make 150 instead. You're going to maybe 3x what you would make if you just invested passively, just by bringing your friends from your network into the same deal that you're going to invest in anyway. Some of the best ICAs, RLPs, that's what I just gave you an example of, right? You just network. You just build relationships. You use those people, those relationships that you already have and have them invest alongside of you. Why would an operator do this? We get this question a lot, Rohan, right? Like, why would an operator do this? I used to call this the middleman problem, right? Like, why would an operator not just go straight to the investors? Or, why would an operator want an ICA or a fund manager to be involved, right? But here's the reason. I mean, if that lead sponsor goes to all those investors, they've got 100 wires, 100 K1s, 100 relationships to manage. If they just manage 10 fund managers, 10 ICAs at $1 million each instead, 10 wires, 10 K1s, 10 relationships. You can see visually here how much simpler it gets for them. They want this. There are huge sponsors out there, clients of Tribevest, this is their sole focus. They are recruiting fund managers, they are recruiting ICAs to help them raise capital for their deals. They're taking them to events, they're having curated events, inviting them to it. And it's just, it is where the market is going and where it is right now. Three ways you get paid. We all want to know how we're going to make money. I mentioned this is so lucrative. This is why, and this is how you pay yourself. Upfront fee, annual fee, exit fee. You'll hear these called different things. Upfront fee, you might hear it called an acquisition fee or a due diligence fee, an annual fee. It might be called a fund administration fee, an asset management fee, an exit fee. It might be called a carried interest or a promote or something like that, right? But this is an easy way to remember it. And this is an easy way to accurately describe exactly what you're talking about. Upfront fee, what you get paid upfront. Annual fee, every year that your fund is open, and an exit fee, something when the fund closes, right? And on $1 million raise, this is what you can expect. You're probably going to charge 2 to 3% upfront, $20,000 or $30,000 that you're going to get to put in your pocket. Annual fee, maybe a 0.5 to a point, something like that. So maybe another 5,000 to 10,000 every year to keep the lights on. And then probably it's going to be backloaded because this is just how the business works. But there are funds, target funds, lead sponsor deals that are, more set up for cash flow. So nowadays people want cash flow, and if you want to raise for one of those deals, then be on the lookout. But typically, they're really backloaded here, and you might take 5 to 20% of that upside, and that's where you get the big payday here.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to call out on that slide is the nice part is that your setup fees with Tribevest are only 5,000, and it's actually funny because even some lead sponsors will actually pay that for your fund manager, so it could even be zero. So the nice part is even up front, you're making a great return on what you put in, and the nice part is over time you can grow more and more. And depending on the deal, if it's more of a back end loaded deal, you'll make a lot of that return. But as Seth was saying, the good news too is that in our network we have some other lead sponsors where they have more cash flow focuses. So whatever your flavor and you prefer, we can, connect you with the right, person in our network.
Yeah, absolutely. And any fees, and we'll go through those fees, but I already noted that it's a $5,000 setup fee. But any fees they're expenses of the fund, they're expenses of the business. So maybe you have to come out of pocket at the beginning, but then when you start raising capital, you actually pay yourself back. So think of any business that you've ran, if you've ran one before, it's just an expense of the business. It doesn't come out of these fees. These fees are in your pocket. This is the money that you make. Same deal, three times the profit. This is how you 2x or 3x your deal. You're going to invest 50K anyway, right? In this example. So if you just aggregate your capital, raise from your network, and go through a fund of funds model, your profit triples. Case study. This is one of our really close clients and friends. His first deal, he started out small, right? He raised 633,000, seven investors, about an $8,000 acquisition fee on the Tribevest platform, set up in 5 days. And that's great, right? Nice little payday. He'll get something big on the back end. Fantastic, right? But he just kept going. He kept building. And over about 3 years, some of these other deals where he had raised for a paving company, raised 2 million, got a $50,000 act fee, raised for a multifamily deal, 1.2 million, got another $30,000. Today he's raised over $40 million. This is a little bit dated, and 3.3 million in estimated revenue. That doesn't include all the deals that haven't exited, right? And he's only been in this for 3 years. It's absolutely incredible what he's been able to build, and there are so many examples of this same thing. You can build this business fast. All right, introducing the Institute for Structured Capital. So this is what we're really focused on today, and we're launching next week. We already had one cohort last quarter. We sold out in just over 2 weeks. We actually oversold it, and it was a huge, huge success. What is the IC? The Institute for Structured Capital, 11-week accelerator for capital raisers who want to build a compliant professional fund of funds business. And the key here is it's not another course. You finish with a formed fund of fund, not just a bunch of notes, not just a bunch of ideas. We're here to build. So that's what separates us from any other course or mastermind or anything out there. And in fact, all those folks that are doing the capital raising masterminds are our friends, and we are not competing with them in any way. Just know that. All those folks, Hunter and Marcin and Brad, all those guys have their own thing going on, and we do not compete with them. We're actually working side by side with them because this is to help you build and launch your business. This is not just education. It is education because we want to help you, give you the confidence you need to launch. But the goal is not to educate. The goal is to get you to launch and build your first or your next capital raising business. So there's 4 pillars here. The attorney-led curriculum, 6 weeks of compliance first instruction, led by me, guided over 3 billion in capital raises across my clients and myself and partners. Number 2, fund infrastructure and compliance. So again, you're going to get the entity, the PPM, the banking, the investor portal, all formed inside a Tribevest within 5 business days. All of that set up as we go through the weekly course or the weekly calls. Number 3, institutional deal flow and relationships. This is so huge. For you folks out there that have done this before, you know how hard it is to get started. Because how do you reach these people? How do you find deals? How do you find lead sponsors? Once you find 1 or 2 or find a few, how do you know if it's a good deal, right? We provide institutional deal flow and real relationships in this cohort. 5 live deal presentations from lead sponsors who've collectively raised billions. And look, you've got to do your own due diligence. We cannot tell you, hey, these 5 are the best. These 5 are the ones you should raise capital with. But just know that there were how many, Rohan? Like over 30 or
I
something
think,
that
yeah,
applied for this?
I mean, it was like I thought it was 30, but I think looking at it's almost 60. And it's one of those things that exactly as Seth said, Travis is never like recommending sponsors or recommending deals, but we have all the data. We have all the deals on our platform. We know who's the best, who's doing really well, and we only invite people that we respect to, work with us. So,
That's
anyways,
right. At Tribevest, because we're the platform, you can't hide from us, right? You
yeah.
you can't hide. We see the numbers, we see the transactions, we see money flowing in both directions, so we know exactly what's going on. You can't hide from us. So, again, do your own due diligence. But we have a curated pack of 5 for this particular cohort who you'll develop a relationship with. It's not just them pitching you a deal. Yes, they're going to get an hour to pitch you their deal, but they're going to be involved. They're going to be in the school community asking questions. They're going to be taking part in the weekly calls and presenting materials and showing you their perspective on the industry and showing you, how they've built their billion-dollar companies, right? This is invaluable. You're going to get to book one-on-one calls with these folks, and you're going to get to know them. You're going to get to practice doing vetting and due diligence on them. It's incredible. Number 4, curated community and certification. So, you all are going to be vetted capital raisers. We already have multiple $30 million plus capital raisers in the community that are going to be taking part of this cohort. You're going to get access to them. You're going to be learning with them, alongside of them. You're going to have lifetime access to the ISC alumni. So the 31 graduates of the prior cohort, they're already getting together and figuring out how they can keep this going and meet monthly. And we're going to continue to educate them and provide different webinars and deal presentations for them. And you'll get to become part of that community. And if you pass the test at the end, so there will be a test and you participate, then you'll get an ICA certification, Independent Capital Aggregator, the first and only of its kind. Think of it like, those of you in real estate, a CCIM designation. So it'll be a designation that you can use. It will be something you can put on your LinkedIn profile. It'll be something you can put on your website. You'll get a certificate and feel very proud of that because we're building something huge here. Built for capital raisers, not just fund to funds managers. Now, I know I mentioned that we are going to be building a fund to funds on the Tribevest platform, but note that all the concepts, all of the steps, all of the applications that we're going to be doing apply to any capital raising game. So if it's a co-GP, Make sure you're doing it compliantly. But if you're a co-GP, if you're a passive LP trying to make that transition, if you are a syndicator or a lead sponsor, this still applies to you. These concepts are universal across capital raising, right? The people you're going to be rubbing shoulders with, they do lots of things. They're fund to funds managers, they're lead sponsors. That role can change, right? So just because you're not doing a fund to funds model, don't think that you're alienated here. So why we launched the ISC now, the information exists, right? This stuff is out there. Over the last 10 years or however long it's been, you can find information on the internet. You can find just about anything out there if you look for it. But trying to organize it and put it in a way that's thoughtful, that's meaningful, that's in a way that you can learn step by step is really, really hard to do. The infrastructure exists. Look, Tribevest is tried and true at this point. We've launched so many of these things. The platform works. We're creating an accelerator to walk people through using it because we get lots of questions about how do we launch? How do we do this? Yes, we can show you how because we've done it hundreds of times. The deal flow exists. Institutional lead sponsors that we're going to give you access to are going to be part of this program. And then even beyond that, we see hundreds, if not thousands of deals to flow across and around our platform. You're going to get access to that, right? The deal flow exists. Sometimes you don't see it, but we see it. Nobody else assembled it. I'm an attorney, but I'm not your attorney. But I'm qualified to teach this. I'm qualified to teach you about compliance, to teach you about infrastructure, to teach you about raising capital compliantly without getting yourself into trouble. 11-week curriculum, 6 pillars. So we've got the kickoff, right? We're going to set the stage, make sure everybody knows where we're going, where we're heading, what the goals are. Week 1, compliance. Pillar number 1, you cannot build a raising capital business without compliance. You have to know. Yes, you need to consult with attorneys, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to know compliance. You have to know what you're building. You have to build a business that you can defend. Week number 2, economics engine. How do you get paid? Right? We briefly talked about it, but we're going to go in depth. We're going to build through your calculator. We're going to see what we call fund to fund economics in action. We're going to show you how you get paid. We're going to show you how you can track a dollar all the way down, all the way up from an asset that's producing that dollar, all the way down to your passive investors at the end of the day. How do you get paid? How do your investors get paid? How do those return metrics work out? 3, finding and vetting sponsors and deals. This is massive. This is so huge, right? You can't just compare one deal to another deal and say, oh, this has got a better IRR than that one. That's novice stuff, right? You've got to know how to find a great deal, know it when you see it, how to find and vet a lead sponsor, because that's what matters. That's what matters. The deal and sponsor, and especially the sponsor. People with track records, people that know what they're doing, people that are stewards of capital, people that are trustworthy. That's what you need to figure out how to find, how to vet. And you're going to get to practice that live with one-on-one calls with our lead sponsors. Week 4, the close. I like to call these the soft skills, right? The marketing, the sales, the pitches, the objections, the asks, trying to get people across the finish line. It's an art. It's an art. Yes, there's a science behind it, and nobody's better at that than Rohan, and we'll jump into some of those things. But you've got your scientific part, I like to call it, which is your email sequences, your deal page, your running ads, things like that. But then it comes down to the softer part, the art, like pitching and salesmanship and overcoming objections. Those are the things that you're going to learn here. Number 5, infrastructure. So back office, all those things that Tribevest does. You need to know the value of that. And if you didn't use Tribevest, all those things you're going to have to put together, you need to understand and learn what they are, because if not, then maybe you'll get yourself into trouble later because you'll try something else. Be like, whoa, I didn't know I had to do all these other 12 things to go along with this. In deal page, you're going to build your deal page right here on the platform in the cohort. Your deal page is going to go live. You're going to be able to send it out to your network, accept soft commitments. And hell, if you get enough soft commitments and get enough action and movement, launch it. Launch it, baby. Start raising capital. You're going to be able to launch right here in the cohort. And last, week 6, scaling, right? right? How do you scale your business? How do you scale like those examples that we gave you? Yeah, raise your first $500,000 or your next $500,000, but how do you get to $50 million? How do you just build year over year over year to where you can retire and create wealth for yourself for life and for generations to come? In week 7 through 11, 5 live deal presentations from our lead sponsor partners. We're actually going to sprinkle these throughout the educational weeks. It's not all going to be at the end, but you will get 5 live deal presentations by our lead sponsors. Ask questions, pick holes in their deals, book one-on-one calls with them. All right, what you get? Attorney-led, 11-week cohort. I charge $1,000 an hour to meet with me. So this is just a rough estimate, right? This doesn't even include all the prep time, all the other stuff that I'm doing, but just 11 weeks, 11 hours, that would cost you $1,000 an hour. And I'm cheap. If you go to a big firm nowadays, it's going to cost way more than that. Fund formed in 5 days, $25,000. If you come to me with my securities lawyer hat on, I'm going to say $25,000. If you go to another firm, if you go to a big law firm, I used to work at the third largest law firm in the world. We used to charge $75,000 to launch a fund. And that's, again, just for your offering documents and your compliance filings. That's it. We didn't provide all these other things. We didn't provide software. We didn't do your K1s. We didn't do any of this other stuff. Just that small legal piece, do that, 75 grand. Hell, that was 7 years ago. That was before COVID. So they're probably double that now. Live deal access from 5 sponsors. We already talked about this, man. This is so valuable. It's priceless. 5 institutional operators present live deals to your cohort, and they help educate you, and they answer questions in school, and they'll book one-on-one calls with you. These are real relationships, not just pitches. Deal page and soft commit funnel, $5,000. You can actually launch this thing and find out whether people want to invest in this particular deal that you built the deal page for, and see if they're ready to go or not, and see if you're ready to launch. See if you generate enough interest. And if not, no big deal. Exclusive ICA certification. Again, think of this like the capital raising version of a CCIM. We're building something huge here with the Institute for Structured Capital. This is a designation you're going to be able to use. It's a certificate you're going to get. You'll be able to put it on LinkedIn, your website, wherever you choose. Curated peer community, $12,000. Lifetime access to capital raisers who bring each other into deals. You're going to have your cohort colleagues alongside of with you that you're going to be friends with forever. You're going to be invited into the alumni network, which we already have the cohort 1 in there, which we're going to have continuing education. We're going to have deal presentations, all those things, lifetime access, lifetime accountability. In-person VIP summit. Tribevest is a huge co-sponsor of the Best Ever brand and the Best Ever conference, which is going to be in Dallas in March. We're going to have a VIP summit just for people that graduate from our cohorts. So those are the only people going to be invited. You're going to get to meet the lead sponsor partners in person, get to meet me, get to meet Rohan, get to meet Travis, the CEO. You'll get to meet the whole Tribevest team and get to mingle with your peers. Proven marketing frameworks. You want to run through this one, Rohan?
Yeah, I can absolutely. I think it's funny because when we did the first cohort, this actually was not a piece of it. It kind of happened last minute. What was quickly identified was that, marketing, there's so much out there and it can be incredibly confusing. There's, this coach, and then there's this agency you want to hire, and then there's this and there's that. It just can bog your mind. So the good news is that, I've had the privilege of working with some of the best lead sponsors in the game. I've had the privilege of working with some amazing fund managers who have raised a lot of money. I've had, the privilege of now working with Tribevest. So I've seen the whole ecosystem from every lens, that can be seen. And the nice part is that we've been able to distill, okay, what are the key things you need to build? And as well, we'll get into it later, but not only do we have frameworks, really, we've kind of boiled it down to a very simple process where here are the steps you follow, here are the things you fill it in. So we're not telling you to reinvent the wheel. We're giving it to you, nicely packaged. So it's pretty easy for you to fill out. So anyways, Seth, I think you're not sharing your screen if you want to go back to the slides. There we go.
All right, hit the button. Yep, all good. Cool. So here's the core program, around $60,000, which is really on the conservative side. But here's the best part. The cohort is functionally free. So let's break it down. I mentioned that the launch cost, the startup cost on Tribevest is $5,000. Well, the startup cost for the program is $2,500. That $2,500 actually goes as a credit towards your Tribevest fee. So essentially, if you're going to launch on Tribevest anyways, if you're going to build a fund-to-fund vehicle with Tribevest, and why wouldn't you? It's functionally free. So you get the education, you get the cohort, you get the relationships, you get all the things in the package absolutely free. So when you compare that against a traditional attorney, $25,000, or even compare it against Trivest alone, I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer offer. This is all free. If you launch anyways on Trivest, this is free. Anything else to add there, Rohan?
Yeah, I think there may be some people on the call who are already Tribest clients, so please, we'd love to have you. If you're already in the process of setting up a fund to fund, you've been referred to Tribest, via resources, just reach out to us, let us know. We'd love to have you. If you've already paid the 5K setup fee, I think we just credit you and let you in automatically. And then Steve, yeah, if you have a business partner, that's just the cost per business. So yeah, we've had a couple partnerships join, like husband-wife partnership, just two business partners. So yeah, if you just want to join, it's a by business or by company
Yep.
raising.
Yeah, so absolute no-brainer, guys. Again, I want to reiterate that a lot of you are already Tribevest clients, or you were previously a Tribevest client, or you already have fund to fund set up on our platform, or you're thinking about setting one up on our platform. You're all invited too. You should do this anyways, right? Because if you're planning on setting up your next one on Tribevest anyways, you might as well join the cohort, get all this stuff for free, and then go ahead and launch anyways, and you get it for free. So cohort starts next week. August 31st is what we call our week zero. So it's kind of our setup call. And then the true content starts next Thursday. So we'll be hosting these every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time. And we'll be going for the next 11 weeks. So we only have 1 week left, less than a week left to go. So I don't know how many seats left we have, but not that many. Reserve your seat now, $2,500 today, and it gets credited against your $5,000 startup fee when you launch on Tribevest. Scan that scanner or go to isc.tribevest.com to get signed up and register and reserve your spot now. Or if you do have questions, you can still book a call with the Tribevest team and go ahead and scan that scanner over there on the right. But again, seats are limited. We will fill up, we will cap it. It's not unlimited because if we have too many people in there, we're not going to be able to cultivate those one-on-one relationships with the lead sponsors and with us. We want this to be a curated room of motivated and active people. So if you're ready to launch, do it now. Do it now. And and these are some of the things that we've added as well. So these weren't even included in the original package. Rohan, you want to jump through this?
I do. Yes, this is another amazing thing. It's a question I got so many times is that this technology thing becomes a big blocker. It is incredibly expensive. I mean, I put 4,000, that's about right. I mean, in terms of it might even be up to $10,000 if you want to get a contractor or a freelancer or an agency to set up your CRM. The great news is that, luckily because I've been in this industry for a good amount of time, I've seen so many things. We've built a nice template. You can go in, download it immediately. And not only will you save yourself thousands of dollars, you will also probably save at least maybe 10 to 20 hours of your time. So not only do you save a lot of money, you'll save a lot of time. So this is a huge bonus we've added to this cohort specifically. So if you're launching and this is a blocker, we've kind of eliminated eliminated immediately. Cheryl, we use Go High Level for this template. If for whatever reason you're a HubSpot, that totally works. Tribus actually uses HubSpot ourselves, so we can HubSpot or Go High Level are totally feasible as CRMs.
Yeah, and this is huge. I mean, some capital raising masterminds out there have built something similar, and they're charging $50,000 a year to be part of that group. And this is part of that package, and we're including that here. And only because Rohan's the man, only because he's the marketing genius and he put this together for us. So I do want to say that. Thanks, Rohan.
Not a problem.
And AI prompt library. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is you can see I'm smiling here. It's one of my favorite topics. I'm actually going to meet with one of our best fund managers to talk about this topic. And what I love about this is that the whole point of Tribevest as a platform, the whole reason it exists is that our job is to democratize capital raising. Like we want to make it much easier for anyone who wants to get in this business. Like the people that I know personally who have started this, they're not like professional, Wall Street types who went to, Wharton and got a 4-year MBA. They're doctors, they're engineers, they're, technology professional, they're executives. Like these are just, quote unquote regular people who got into this because number one, Tribus is making it easier. And then the key here with AI prompting is that we want to make it very easy. Just like a very small example, but something like building a capital raising website. That used to take like 4 weeks with revisions, costs like a few hundred to a few $1,000s. Like it was insane. Like some of our clients in the cohort one, I set their website out with them in a 15-minute phone call. Like we got on a Zoom just like this. We
Insane.
built it with them in 15 minutes and it's done. So really like anybody joining the call, like if you want to get into capital raising, like we could not have streamlined it and made it any easier. So fundamentally, even like let's say just in a small example, like if you're raising capital for your own deals, one of the powerful things about the fund of funds manager model is that you get to partner with some of the best in the business and you get to like learn from them. If you're at 10 million AUM, 20 million in assets under management, if you're working with someone who has $1 billion, there's a lot of things they do that you probably don't do. There's a lot of learning that you need to learn. So the good news is that you can get paid to do the learning. So it's like an apprenticeship or a mentorship where you're getting paid to learn how to do this. So it's fundamentally why we did this whole AI thing is that because a lot of things used to be so manual, a lot of things used to be so difficult. The good news is that, we've really streamlined it. And again, our entire job, and you can ask anyone who's been in the program or once you join the program, Seth, I don't did we cover it today? But we have a full money back guarantee. So if you want to even like, come, see it.
We'll jump into that. We'll
Yeah.
definitely jump into that.
Oh,
So we'll
oh,
just
definitely.
preface, we've got a full money back guarantee and we'll go into that. But I did want to comment that,
Yeah.
man, there's no better time than today to get in the capital raising game. Was it easy to raise capital? I don't know, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Yeah, but you're also waiting for the next crash. If you're into real estate, you're like, whoa. I mean, I think Kiyosaki was saying in 2016, the real estate market's going to crash. Well, it went another 7 years before it crashed. But, there's always that fear, right? We're we're pretty much at the bottom. I mean, maybe we got a little bit more time before we start really going up, but we're at the bottom, folks. So if you can raise capital right now, you can raise capital anytime. And most of the things that you're going to raise capital for now are going to be worth a lot more later because that's the advantage of starting a business at the bottom of the market is you're going to ride that wave up. And with $65 trillion pouring into the private markets, now is just never a better time to jump into this. When I got started, I paid a guy $10,000 for my website. And like Rohan said, it took like I don't remember how long, but it took more than that. It took like months. I feel like took like 2 months before we got that dialed in. You guys check it out right now. It's lawcapitalpartners.com. It took me over 2 months to get that and $10,000. And now I could probably build that same website in 30 minutes and for a Claude subscription. Like that's it. Like it's insane what you can do
Yeah.
today. And same thing with like the lead magnets. Like you can create a lead magnet in 2 seconds.
Yeah. I do want to, I guess we're still on the AI side. So I will say AI is very powerful, but this is actually the value of joining something like this because AI is only as powerful as the prompting you give it. Like if you're just
That's
like
right.
going in and building it, like if you don't know what are the best practices to build a funnel, I've had the privilege of building a website, excuse me. I've built a lot of them. I've seen a lot of them. I've studied a lot of them. So luckily we have a lot of best practices. So that's the one of the nuance as well is that this is not just, oh, hey, go use Claude to build your website. Like that's great. I can tell you that in 5 minutes, but it's much more like what are the best practices that need to be used to prompt the AI to get an effective output? And I'm just being frank, like this is that. Uh Romania, sorry, we were putting in the chat. Yes, like there will be access to the webinar replay. Sorry if it was confusing. Yeah, the webinar replay will go out either this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Sorry if that was you missed that. What was it? Yeah, like we give you the best practices that go into the AI to make it, work properly. So that's the point there.
That's
There's
right.
not, hey, use Claude. Like,
Totally.
good luck.
Right. Right. Yeah. I see the same thing when people trying to be their own attorney with Claude. Same thing. If you don't
Yeah,
know
exactly.
what the hell, if you don't know what the
Yeah.
hell you're prompting it, you're gonna get a lot of BS on the back end.
Yep.
And showing you again everything we got. Right now we're up to 65,000. It's gonna be way more than that, but just kind of showing you all the value, all the things that you get. Um, Priceless, really. Here's a scanner again. Reserve your seat now. Not sure how many seats we have left. Not too many, but we're starting next Monday. So reserve your seat. Easy checkout. Um, if you still have questions, put them in the chat or book a
Yeah.
call with Daniel. We'll do our best here to answer these before we go. But if not, if you have some one-on-one questions, feel free to scan and reach out to Daniel. But you can also scan here as well on the left. So reserve your seat now and get more information. So yes, we gave you a lot of stuff to digest here in a very short amount of time. There's also some more information on that site that'll help you hopefully help you move forward and launch your next capital raising business.
Yeah, let me one thing I'm gonna add, Cheryl, I'm glad you brought me up. If you are a lead sponsor raising capital for your own deals, the best solution is gonna be please book a call with Brandon on our team. He handles that side of the business. I was gonna say a point. Yeah, like there's always there's like infinite nuances. So like does a fund to fund help? I'm sure there's a solution, but I want to like learn about your unique situation. So please schedule that call with Brandon and he'll kind of go through it and find the best way to help. Like it's been really exciting. When I Seth doesn't know this, but I think one of the reasons I joined Tribevest is that I've had the privilege of working with a lot of these lead sponsors, and when I see, the caliber of organizations that are on the platform, which is so exciting, and I think for us, it just gives us such a unique opportunity to bring, some of the best deals, on our platform, and really, for anyone here becoming a fund manager, you get to just learn from some incredible people, like the concepts, the nuances. That's one thing I always speak to. Like I actually just posted in our school community, which you can join once you sign up. It's like if I don't have the answer within my, years of experience, if Seth doesn't have the answer within his years of experience for any reason, we have like any expert, like any kind of expert in the capital raising Avengers we can call to get you an answer. So the good news is that this whole program, there's the educational portion, which is one piece of it. There's the infrastructure, which is all what Trivest provides. But then there's also the community. And that's one thing I'm really proud of. We have an amazing school group of our alumni from cohort one who are still active, still engaging. I was actually just, talking to some of them today. And then even our cohort two, we just, we're launching the school and we're just starting there. So it's really exciting to see. I think if you're someone who, values long-term relationships and, wants to be, wants to build something, the nice part is that you're coming into a community that's building, that's growing, and in three, 1, 2, 3 years, we're going to have this huge community of fund managers. And if you're someone that's at the ground floor, you get to experience all the benefits of that as it grows. So it's a really exciting opportunity right currently.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of that, cohort one I mentioned, I mean, it's sold out in 2.5 weeks. We overfilled it. We took in one extra person. We filled it with 31 people. And these are some of our actual members. These are some of the actual people that were in cohort one, that just graduated and what they're saying about cohort one and how exceptional it was. Are there any that stand out to you here, Rohan?
Yeah, I think what I want to speak to again is that what's awesome about this is that we have so many different personas that have joined the cohort and seen a lot of success. Like we have kind of people just starting out and doing their first, fund to fund, like someone like I believe like Dr. Musha and Pamela, like they're people who are just, getting started with their first fund. Pamela is a great example of someone who I believe was a co-GP slash like was also doing her own deals, but then quickly realized that like this is good, but like I want it's just not the right structure for me. So she joined this and she's been having a great time. Another one is Shay Tolley's actually not listed here, but he's another person, same thing. He owned a lot of assets himself. He kind of realized like it's just a lot of work to do this for not a lot of you're not as good returns. So he's getting into capital raising, launching his fund to fund and doing a great job. Even Carrie on the bottom right there, he's an operator. So the point is that if you're just starting out, there's a lot of people who've been successful. If you are a more experienced person, like someone like Jerry, who's I think done 8 figures of transactions, or someone who has a lot of experience, you're still going to get a ton of value. And the nice part too is that you're not paying anything additional, right? So it's not like, hey, I'm choosing to join this and I have to like, fork out more money. You're if you're gonna set up on Tribevest and you believe in the whole fund to funds model, joining this, does not cost you anything additional. So it's really like as much of a no-brainer as possible. Like just I think it was like yesterday we had like 3 or 4 of like our best Tribevest fund managers join the programs because even though they're quote unquote experienced and they've, done a lot, one, they still have more to learn. Like there's a lot we can teach them. And then number two, like they're not paying anything additional. So it doesn't, there's no, it's a all benefit, no
Right.
harm. So if you're launching on Tribevest, like this is a great opportunity to get a feel of the platform, learn a lot, and obviously not, pay anything additional out of pocket.
Yeah. And they want to be around other exceptional individuals that are raising capital in the same game, doing the same thing and doing it at a high level. And they want to give back as well. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you haven't raised a dollar or you've raised $100 million, there's going to be somebody above you, below you, whatever you want to call it. I don't like to say below you, but you know what I mean. You're going to be able to help them. They're going to be able to help you. and it's just an awesome community that we're building here. I like Tom's quote here. I began my fund manager business with big dreams, vastly underestimating that it took to what it took to run the back end. Then I found Tribevest, and all my concerns were immediately remedied. So when you get into this and you start seeing all the pieces that you have to put together, so have to find a securities attorney, have to find a CPA that understands funds, that understands fund of funds, that understands securities laws. You have to open a business banking account for a fund, which for you, those of you that haven't done that, not all banks understand it. They don't understand when you have 50 passive investors in a deal. These things get complex and it gets overwhelming. But when you go through a company like Trivest, you go through Trivest, it all becomes simple because we have it all in one place, one platform.
Nice.
All right, the completion guarantee. So we've upped the ante here. So this one is, did we update this one, Rohan, or no?
Let me check it out here. Actually not 100% sure, but basically, Seth, you want to go through the kind of the updated guarantee?
Yeah, the updated guarantee is, look, we only have a few spots left, and sometimes, you're gonna be like, I still got questions. Maybe I book a call with Daniel. All good. If you need to do that, do it. But just know that we now have a full 100% money back guarantee. You can pay your $2,500. You can take join the cohort. You can finish the cohort as long as you participate. You show up for the calls and you do the homework. Then if you feel like you didn't get enough value from it, or you don't believe in the fund of funds model, or you don't like Rohan because he's an ass, he's an asshole, look
Yeah.
at him. Just
Yeah.
kidding. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whatever reason you want to say, if you are just not happy with the results, we'll give you your full $2,500 back, no questions asked, and that's it. Full money back guarantee. So there's zero risk. So not only would it potentially get credited to your next fund to fund at Trivest, look, if you're not happy with the results, then you can get your money back at the end of it.
Yeah. I think I think fundamentally, you know, TribeVest has no like the way TribeVest makes money is by getting you to launch. That's the only way not even launch actually. It's like launch and then do repeat deals on the platform, meaning that, we, our incentive is to actually make you very successful and get you on the platform and get you doing a bunch of deals. That's the only way we're actually going to get, real juice out of this. That's really our main goal. So ultimately,
We've
yeah,
done this hundreds of times. We know that if you do the thing, like if you educate yourself, if you take action, then you're going to be successful. So that's why we can give that guarantee.
nice.
So, real quick, picture this in 90 days. This is your future. You have a live fund. You've got your entity formed. You've got your PPM drafted. Your bank accounts open. Your investor portal's live. You've built inside TribeVest, and you don't have $25,000 in fees waiting for you. And you're not still stuck in this 6 weeks of back and forth with revisions and conversations with your attorney and booking calls and all those things. You've got real live investors. You've got soft commitments that you've collected, that you've tracked. Investors have seen your deal. They love it. They've signed subscription documents and they're ready to wire. You're ready to launch your capital raising project. And you've also got a whole book of relationships that compound over time. Direct access to institutional caliber lead sponsors who bring you to their next deal, a peer network of capital raisers who refer, collaborate, meet, who you're friends with, who you make appointments with, who you will meet at BEC in person, hold you accountable for life. If you haven't scanned yet, there you go. Reserve your seat now. Only a few seats left. Or again, book your call with Daniel. But like I said, money back guarantee. If you
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
2,500 bucks and you don't like the program for whatever reason, you can have it back.
Yeah, no, I think I've already seen something move forward, so it's great to see on our back end. I'm sure there are always questions that come up. That's why we have that call with Daniel. Daniel is actually the person who works with you to launch your fund, so he's not really a salesperson, meaning that his job is to work with you the entire way and get you launched on your fund. So he's a great resource. We'll work with you directly on Tribevest. So he's a great resource to really, answer any of your questions and help you clarify if this is the right fit, how timing will work, all those little questions that may come up.
Absolutely. Some of these questions that come up or some of the reasons why, I think we all have reasons, excuses, reasons for not doing the things that are going to better our lives and for us to take action and do things that maybe make us uncomfortable. Um, this might be one of them. I don't have access to good deals. You want to walk through that, Rohan?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just spoke to this earlier, but I'm happy to reiterate. Like, it's definitely a big problem. I mean, if you're raising capital, you're whatever you're taking people's money and you're a steward of it. And you have to be responsible. So, I mean, I don't want to say we guarantee performance or anything in any sort of manner. We don't do that at all. But the nice part is that no lead sponsor can hide from Tribevest. We know if they're doing their distributions right. We know if they're, we see their, don't we like see their investor communications, right, Seth? Because like it comes to us to relay, right? Or no, not sure on
Sorry,
that.
say
Do
that
like
again.
does the lead sponsor, will they send their investor communication to Tribevest as well, right? Because then we relay it to the end investors, right? Is that how it works or no?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we see all their investor communications, so we know, who's doing well. So ultimately, we have, only 5 spots for lead sponsor partners, so we have way more demand than, supply for this. So the good news is that we only pick the best of the best that we, love working with. So it's really, a great way to do that. Next slide,
Yeah.
Seth. Yeah, so
My
network is not
network
big.
is not big enough.
Yeah, I think this is another big problem that, holds people back. I have the privilege of speaking to so many fund managers. I just, from the conversations I've had, I think a lot of people see these people who have raised 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. They feel very intimidated, but the people I know that are, quote unquote, everyday people, getting started with this, 2 investors, 5 investors, 7 investors, like you don't need an army. You just need a few people that trust you, that want to invest in these, unique and lucrative investment opportunities, and you can easily get started. And the nice part is that once you start, this scales amazingly, and that's been proven on our platform. Like when someone starts, they do it properly. We have the resources for them to scale. So all you got to do is really just, get started here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do I know I can actually raise? This is an interesting one.
Yeah, I'll take these all sets because I kind of I have the privilege of speaking to the fund manager, so these are all the concerns
Yeah.
I why I wrote them. Because like yeah, I think a lot of people are very very concerned of, oh, what if I find this deal to raise capital for? I'm making this promise to the lead sponsor that I'm going to raise money for them, and I don't know if I'm gonna be successful. The good news is that that issue is completely wiped away cleanly. Um, so the nice part is that you go in, we have our software product called Trident. You go in, we have these like folders that are already pre-populated, so you don't really have to get this information. You just copy and paste it in here. You build your page, you send it out to your network. We'll give you kind of some of the exact, we'll help you kind of craft some messaging. You can see quickly, you get 10 people to soft commit at $100,000. Oh my goodness, there's $1 million there already. The nice part is that you do all that before you actually go live and actually pay, Tribest the full 5,000. So the good news is that in the whatever reason that it doesn't work out and you don't get any response, great. Just, swap out your webinar and sorry, swap out your deal and you can always just try again. And the good news is that in the high likelihood it does work out, you can immediately, go in and get started. Seth, we lost you there. You still there with us? Nice. Okay. I think he's on mute. Not sure what's you want to go to the next slide? I can wrap this up. It's only like 2 more slides. Yeah. Yeah. Same thing with like timing. I think I have the privilege of knowing a lot of people in the medical professional who've done this very, very successfully. And you know, I'm sure you can trust me at this. There's no one, more busy than a full-time doctor, working 60, 70, 80 hours in the clinic, but yet these still people are still able to launch these fund to funds very successfully. So I would say that even if you're working a full-time job, even if you're very busy, the good news is this can be done very, very effectively. And it's because we've streamlined a lot of this and we've taken a lot of the operations off your plate, which is normally what takes a lot of time. So this is can be done relatively easily with a full-time job. Is there one more slide set there? That's it. Or one more. Is there anything else? Can can't hear you, Seth. You're on mute. Can I maybe share my screen and take over? Let's see if I can do that effectively. Let me see
Sorry
here.
about that. Having technical difficulties.
Oh,
But
okay, no worries. He's back.
here
All
we
right,
go.
yeah. I think
Haven't
we only
raised a
got two
dollar
slides
yet.
left, so we'll just wrap up. Yeah, so if you haven't raised a dollar yet, I think a lot of people do get a little bit held back by the fact that they don't have a deal in front of them. Sort of like, why am I paying this money? Like I'm not launching. The good news is that by paying this money, it's a credit, so it's on the platform. It's not gonna go away from you. And the nice part is that you'll find a deal in the program. And if the 5 don't suit you, great. We'll give you the full 60. Like there's 60 lead sponsors. So if the first 5 are not like you just absolutely hate those, there's like 60. And if you I don't know if you can't find one in 60 deals, maybe then I think that there's a less than 1% chance of happening.
Yeah, we'll help connect you to a deal. We'll
Yeah.
find you a deal that you like.
Yeah, we have so
No doubt
many,
it.
so we can get you almost anything. And then
No
last
doubt about it.
last slide here, Seth. All right, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I've put it in the chat. Please let me know if there's any issues with the chat. So either I've already seen a lot of you move forward, so that's really awesome to see, and then I think I've seen a couple of you already schedule calls with Daniel, which is really awesome. So are there any final questions here from anyone in the chat? I know we Seth and I have spoken a lot, so we want to, turn it over to you. Um,
Looks like we're all set, Rohan.
I think we did great.
Um, so this is it, guys. Go ahead and scan the scanner. More information on isc.tribevest.com or book a call with Daniel. But this has been awesome. Thanks for
Yeah.
taking the time today, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, like I said, please, if you're not ready to go, not a big problem. Schedule a call with Daniel. He'll help you out. And like I said, there's no, pressure. He's not gonna, hard sell you on anything. So, please schedule that call if you have any questions or concerns.
All
All right.
right,
Thank you,
let's
everyone. Have a great
go.
rest of your day, and we'll talk to you in the future.